Hi gang, welcome back to the Ornery Latina. Today's topic is going to be about how I feel that the past is relevant to how things are going now. We're going to get to see former First Lady Barbara Bush in the news tonight promoting the Bush Library. It's a global thing. They do some wonderful things for people around the world, except they didn't do some wonderful things for the people here at home. And why I'm saying that is because during that era and time, we had some stringent rules like No Child Left Behind that actually hurt education instead of enhancing it. They cut funding to needy schools that weren't in compliance. Of course, they couldn't be. How could they be? They couldn't be. Because, the whole Bush legacy was education, but how could you be in compliance if you're starting off with an underachieving district with poverty, with limited resources, no money in the budget, their tax base is can't even compete with the schools in the cities. Their rural areas required a longer commute, larger expenses because of the fact that the funding was based on the population. And because of, in Oregon, especially because of the Self-Determination Act money funds being misguided and misused and misdirected, we never saw any of that money. So basically, you're penalizing the kids for something that the bureaucrats statewide were responsible for. I sent the Bush administration the entire state funding budget and how everything is broken down. Their solution was to withhold our federal money for the timber until they were in compliance with Real ID. Had nothing to do with education at all. Our school was investigated by the federal government, not for not having speech services, but for having a program where the boys were making blimps for the blimp museum, and they didn't have a number of girls. Not to mention that it was slave labor, and you were misusing funds and violating Safety Act for children, and putting them in harm's way. Okay, in sort of for free labor. But no, we didn't address that aspect of it at all. We addressed the fact that there wasn't enough girls getting put in harm's way as well with boys. So I want to talk about the Bush administration a little bit because I think this is relevant. They had a bimbo named Margaret Spellin. So she was the head of education. She was a real cow. She could care less about education. Basically what she was there for was to make sure that no illegal alien gets left behind. They had this thing called Hispanic Leadership down in Miami. And basically that was a war about how to open the border and allow certain rights and privileges for our illegal immigrants. They worked with Senator Mel Martinez here of Florida. Actually, he was also an open border guy, and Marco Rubio. In fact, the Bush family funded Marco Rubio's campaign so he could take out Charlie Crist. People don't realize that the Bushes were behind Charlie Crist, and of course, when Charlie Crist, became socialist or whatever, and started to realize, that he had to switch sides in order to make the budget, happen here in this state, because we were getting lots of funding cuts and stuff like that due to the poor economy, due to the housing crisis, and it hit Florida worse than any other state. He did what he had to do to keep us afloat, but they were turncoats and they turned against Charlie, and that's why Charlie did what he did. He's just to survive. Oh, but he became a socialist, and it's the only way he could really stay in the game because he couldn't be a Republican. He wasn't rich enough. Anyway, and he wasn't smart enough because, you know what, in fact, you're supposed to grow your own money, Charlie, don't you know? You can't use government money. You have to be like Rick Scott and take the deals. Anyway, long story short, they think I'm a stupid bimbo, so I go down to the Miami leadership thing, and I'm sitting there, and I notice there's a guy that stands out, and I ask who he is, and his name is Fred Malek. Fred Malek is really good buddies with Congressman John Dingell. Is it Congressman? I don't know what he is. But anyway, John Dingell has been a dinosaur in the legislature forever. And he's one dinosaur that I wish would become extinct. He's bankrupted his good state of Detroit and really hurt the car industry. And he's a real socialist, and he's a communist, and he's a stupid moron on top of it. And he's senile. Anyway, we have a lot of those in D.C. Not to be bashing you guys, especially the Bushes. We love the Bushes. In fact, we love them so much that Bill named his goldfish after the whole Bush family when he lived in Bar Harbor, Maine. And that's another nice topic to talk about. It's kind of like Portland, Oregon, too. A lot of crazies, a lot of left-wing liberals. But I think left-right is basically the same. And I'm going to explain why I think this. I don't think the GOP people are for the middle class. I don't think they're for Latinos, and I don't think they're for anybody but themselves. They're big-time globalist pigs. And you have these secret societies and businesses meeting to benefit their own pockets. They hire the lobbyists, and they go on making the people feel great. You know, of course, Dubya went around parading in his little belt buckle and his Levi's and his cowboy boots and his twang, making him appeal to the regular, every average day Joe. But he is nothing but a skull and bones Illuminati brother, just like John Kerry, and these guys all are in cahoots together. So anyway, I go down to Miami to find out what this is all about, and they're at the Biltmore Hotel. Of course, they're like the statues of gargoyles, of course, like satanic little, beings. I know, is it going to beep? No, it better not beep. Anyway, I go down there and I find out that Mr. Malik doesn't want to hear anything about immigration reform. I find out that Jeb is not in favor of immigration reform, and nobody really gives a rat's ass about that. And so now we have somebody in there that is president who wants to get on the border, who wants to do something about immigration reform, and he's getting a whole lot of like racism and bigotry, and of course they had to put somebody like Trump. But if you go back there and remember Mr. Bush, he was like, signing up and giving them like leaf blowers at the border, He was like speaking Spanish and saying, yeah, si se puede, right along with Ted Kennedy and John McCain. And you remember when they were doing the amnesty? Remember they stood together, the three amigos, him and McCain and Kennedy? Well, Kennedy's no longer with us, God rest his soul. But thank God, that eventually the seat opened up, and I don't know who has it now, but he had that seat for quite a long time. Not a bad guy. He was just misguided. I mean, at least he got back to me in one of my letters. I called him a fucking moron and an idiot and everything else, and he said he wasn't. But and that was not a form letter, you guys. That was one time that somebody actually wrote back and tried to defend themselves in their own words. It was really pretty amazing that anybody would get back to me. But anyway, I did get a letter back from Carl Rode. He called me a stupid moron, and you know what, Carl? I love it when I'm able to get underneath your skin. It makes my day. It really does. And I'm going to keep doing it. So you guys stay tuned for the Ornery Latina. Oh, do tune in to see what Laura Bush wants. I mean, I'm surely they want you to dig deep into your pockets and contribute to their library so your money can go global. Have a great day.